Hey, video diary. I'm going to take this off because I think it's important for me to try to at least show who I really am in these videos. And what I've been thinking about that is I've been trying to show myself in the best light, even though I've been doing that in the guise of unraveling, emotions, bitter emotions. I've been trying to prove that I'm a good father or was a good father. I'm just saying behind the scenes, like even unaware, I'm unaware of it. And then I kind of started getting aware that, a lot of this was just to try to say, hey, it shouldn't have happened here. But it did. And so I have to take that into, the metric of the calculus, right? Of what, or maybe I don't, that's the thing. Maybe people are so just invested in themselves to a degree that we just lie to each other most of the time to keep each other off our backs so that we can do whatever we really want to do. And if it's heroin, we find out through a phone call that you're dead. And if it was something like, that couldn't kill you, I think that's just a human thing, that we apes hide fruit. We keep things to ourselves. And yeah, it's hard to trust, but it's also, it's important not just to become cynical. I don't want to just become cynical. Like I just understand more that people aren't to be trusted entirely. There's a balance there between what they're getting, what you're getting, and what you're asking, what they're giving, whether or not they're really there. I do maintain that no one who's addicted to anything, and that includes cigarettes, drugs, alcohol, can be trusted. I don't even work with smoke. Well, no, I do work with smokers, but they sort of shamefully hide their smoking. But like someone who's got like a deep habit, if you've ever lived with somebody with a deep cigarette habit, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's disgusting. They can't do shit. They smell. There's ashtrays full of cigarettes everywhere. The money is always about, they're jittery. They're blaming other things. They're, when a person is smoking, I was a smoker for years on and off. It was one of the worst, most tenacious addictions. I used to go to, I knew where ashtrays were, where people would put out most of their cigarette. At my low points, I would go and then I'd cut off. It was, let's just say that tobacco is, you're getting ripped off and you're addicted, and it's just degrading your health, and you will die from it. You will die from some version of what smoking has brought to you. So it takes away your life and it gives you cancer. Oh, after a while, or emphysema. That will definitely happen. So I have a couple of things to say that have kind of come up in my mind. One is that religious doctrines, religious dogmas are offensive to people who are dying. And I think this is because I don't have, proof in terms of studies, but in the last few people I saw die, I noticed that, and one of them was very religious, that talk is, they don't want to hear that. When they're dying, when they're finally dying, that is completely uncomforting bullshit, nonsense noise to them, because what you're doing is you're telling them not to be afraid, in which they're scared shitless, in some part of them. So maybe some people have overcome that and are just excited about what's on the other side, if anything, right? But most people are afraid. And you're telling them not to be afraid because of this story that came to you with no evidence, through revelation. They're going through revelation, real revelation. And let's just say that the very religious person that I knew who recently died, who had a cross laid on them and scriptures being read over them, died when those people left the room and turned away from that, because it's offensive to the real spiritual moment that is finally occurring, when your entire being is disintegrating, rejoining, disintegrating, rejoining. You do not need to hear that other stuff, because your knowledge is there. At some level, I really truly believe, and it was even true at an instant, I believe, with my son, that when his brain finally realized that he fucked up, that he probably had to come to some, cosmic pinhead somewhere in his consciousness that says, I'm shutting down, force no longer exists. And I'm not saying we should fear that. I don't want us to fear that. I don't want to fear it. But we do. It's unknown, it's scary. We want to be here. We love the pleasures. And this brings me to my second point, that only the body matters. I was thinking about this, like, think about someone who's just died. For a while, their stuff, you can even hear their voice. I can hear his voice. But after a while, they don't matter. What they maybe stood for, what you take from it, what you interpret their message to be, in terms of an example. But only the body matters. Only the form, the matter, the molecules, your brain, your functionality, that's all we know that matters. And all other talk about souls, spirituality, energy, it's all speculative. It's all made up in the hopes that, we don't just face oblivion and we're just a blip, right, between birth and death, and everything on the other side of that is just empty. We don't know, but that's okay. But everything else we make up about it is speculative. And this is the thing that, like, freaks me out. Like, if you don't take care of your body, what are you saying? What are you saying to your family? What are you saying to yourself? What are you saying to the universe? You are constituted in terms of all of your desires and your movement by the fact that you have this thing. And that's it. So if you degrade it, either with bad substances or bad thoughts, because I think that those are equally, it's all part of the same thing. If you have bad thoughts, limiting descriptions of yourself. I can't do it. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm too fat. I'm too tall. Whatever the fuck your issue is, it's all in here. I mean, there are certain things that we're not going to be able to accomplish physically, and there you go. But the thoughts that you have in your physical form, if you don't take care of those things and have them be grounded in reason and evidence, there's plenty of evidence that if you don't exercise, that you know the result. And exercise is really hard. It really sucks. But it's also, it's one of those good feelings. It's one of those feelings that really feels true, truly good. You do not control your heartbeat. You do not control when you die, unless you kill yourself. You do not control, even when you blink your eyes involuntarily, you can do it voluntarily. But the rest of the time, and think of all your internal processes. It's like even your body, you don't have a lot of control over the insides. So when you don't do the good things to it, it's you. It's on you. It's not on society. It's not on your parents. It's not on anything. So only the body matters. And you only need to demonstrate the health of that body to yourself. This is weird. The less we're able to control something, the more alive it is. And maybe there's something to that, I mean, I think there is. Like the more something is, I recently was around like a large animal, and it was a large pig, tusks, and it wanted to be pet, and but it's a large animal with tusks, and there's that sense of danger, right? And that sense of like the heightened experience comes from the fact that it's something I can't control. If it was a stuffed pig, or a pig where we lived in a universe where pigs are completely docile, and we know that from every, report of history. And I tried to control Forrest. I did. I tried to give him so much support in those positive things that he was doing, but it was out of fear for this situation, or any, or even a situation where I had to put my young son, a young man, into this world without the tools that I could, and also just to be a suffering person who had no anchor, or didn't know how to reason. Forrest and I spent many hours talking about stuff and arriving open-mindedly, I would suggest, at new conclusions. And it was more about the exercise of doing that made me feel that, like, yes, this is good. I'm putting somebody, I'm not filling his mind with stories that are untrue, or that we just hope are true.